Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Hey, give me one sec. I need to do something real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think something's okay, man. Just sitting in a room, I like being somebody with me. What?
Hello.
Hey, y'all. Can everyone hear me? It
Yes,
is
sir. Yes, sir.
good. It's great to see you guys. Welcome to Introduction to Philosophy. I'm Father Matt Bolter. I don't care what you call me. You can call me Matt. You can call me Mr. Bolter. You can call me Dr. Bolter. You can call me Father Bolter or Father Matt. Just as long as you call me, I'm good. Okay. It's good to see you guys. Listen, I totally get that sometimes you don't want to show your pretty faces online, but part of what's going to go on in this class is you do have a class participation grade, as you know, and the better I know you, the better your class participation grade will be. So there's no pressure. You're going to learn very quickly that I don't pressure people to do stuff. But my goal is to get to know my students. And by the way, that's why I hope that we can be meeting on campus without masks, hopefully by March or April. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good luck, pal.
And right now, the plan is to meet in 2 weeks on campus. Although there is a slight chance that I won't want to do that. I don't know. I don't know yet. I can't think that far into the future. You know what I mean? Y'all, welcome. I don't really know how many people are on right now. I think that there's like 45 students registered for the class, which is always fun. And it's really good to meet everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Let's see here. Uh-oh. What? Okay, give me one sec. Give me one sec. Okay, here's my crappy little PowerPoint for today. Can everyone see that?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yes.
And I love that you guys are talking. I think my recommendation would be for you to keep yourself muted, but then at any point, feel free to unmute it and get my attention, okay? I'm gonna try to get it to where I can see as many of y'all as possible at the same time while still seeing my own screen. You know what I mean? So awesome. This is what we're going to do today. Number one, just a welcome to everyone and a very, very brief introduction. I'm going to introduce myself, even though I also really try not to talk about myself too much because I think it's a waste of your time. It also feeds the lie that philosophy classes are BS or that they're a blow-off class or that philosophy is just kind of like, oh, let's share our feelings today. No, that's not what philosophy is at all. And if I were to sit here and talk about myself for 30 minutes, it might cause you to think that it is that, but it's not. It's actually rigorous work and it's a discipline in learning how to think clearly. So I'm not going to talk about myself very much, but I am going to briefly introduce myself. Later in the semester, possibly as early as next class, I'm going to figure out a way for some of y'all to introduce yourself. Because again, one of my goals in the class really is to get to know my students, okay? So number one, a brief introduction to myself. Number two, we're going to go over the syllabus. I hope that y'all know that I have uploaded the syllabus on Canvas, or I hope that that's true. And is that true? Have you guys been able to see the syllabus to this class on Canvas?
Yes, sir, we are.
Awesome. Very
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Good. It's likely that throughout the entire semester, I will upload everything to announcements and modules. That's just typically how I roll with Canvas. So I put the syllabus as a module. We're going to go over the syllabus. Then I'm going to go over this other thing that's an important tool for you guys, which is the reading schedule. I really want to encourage y'all to keep up with the reading schedule. Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if you've noticed the reading schedule on Canvas. Have y'all been able to see that yet? Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good. Okay. And then we're going to have some questions and comments if there are any, and I hope that there are. But for now, I want to say something even before I get to my brief introduction, and that is that in order for me to keep my sanity as I try to do online classes, I'm going to try really hard, and I think you're going to like this, but I'm going to try really hard to limit these classes to 1 hour. Now, I don't know how that makes you feel. It probably makes you feel great. I can promise you it's a form of self-care for me, okay? You probably realize that it's a lot more work to do online classes than just to walk into a classroom and start speaking. Typically, professors like myself are really good at talking, so it's actually not that stressful or that much of a burden just to walk in and give a class. But doing this online shit is very irritating and it's time consuming, and therefore I'm going to give myself a break, and I'm going to shoot for 1 hour classes, okay? But that's easier said than done. So I'm gonna try to end this class at 5 o'clock. And by the way, who wants to be my timekeeper? I always, every semester, ask for someone to be my timekeeper. Is there anyone who would be willing to say, Dr. Bolter, 5-minute warning? Who can give me a 5-minute warning at 4:55? Awesome. Okay.
I can.
All right. Adam, you are awesome, but someone else beat you. The problem
Dang
is
it.
I don't know her name because I don't know how to do Zoom very well.
That's all right. She's probably better than I am.
Thank you.
Tell me your name.
Mara.
Mara, I need you to raise your hand real quick for me. Oh, Mara. Okay. Hi. Spell Mara, M-A-R-A.
Maura.
Nice. And tell me your last name.
O'Day. Odea.
Very good. I'm grateful to you. Yeah. Just make sure to get my attention at 4:55. Thumbs up. I don't know, whatever you want to do. You can text me. But that's a great relief because it means I don't have to think about time. I can just talk. Thank you very much, Mara. Okay, y'all. Let me give you a brief introduction to myself. My name is Father Matt Bolter. I am a native Texan, although I also sort of grew up in Washington, D.C. I've also lived in Philadelphia for 3 years. I lived in Philadelphia. I kind of think of myself as being an Austinite. I lived in Austin for 15 years. I own a house in Austin. I've been married for 23 years to my best friend, who happens to be an Asian person. That was kind of weird. I never could have imagined that I would marry an Asian person. But hey, we fell in love in 1997 and we're still married. My wife's name is Bouquet. I will probably be talking a lot about her through the course of this class. And I have 2 daughters. They are 12 and 17. Did I say that I'm 48? Did I say that yet? That means I'm older than many of your moms and dads, which I'm cool with. And I'm getting confused right now on Zoom. Okay. And yeah, we have lived in Tyler for 11 years, 10 and a half years. I'm an Episcopal priest, so I am a priest. But I'm not a Roman Catholic priest. I'm an Episcopal priest. That means that I can be married, and all kinds of good stuff like that. And I've been a priest for, I've been a minister in the church for about 20 years, but I don't want anyone to think that you have to be a Christian to do well in this class. That's not true at all. My goal in this class is to get to know y'all and to help you think. Really, my goal in this class is to encourage y'all to question your assumptions. But you know what? In order to be able to question your assumptions, there's something you have to do first. Who can tell me maybe what you need to do in order to be able to question your assumptions? Any ideas? Any thoughts?
Challenge yourself.
Senia, is that, say your name for me.
Senia.
Senia, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I like what you said, but I like what you said, but I like what I'm about to say better. No offense. And that is, in order to question your assumptions, first, you have to be able to identify them. Right? Would y'all agree with that? Like, if you're going to examine your assumptions, to interrogate them, to cross-examine them, don't you think first you need to be able to know what they are? Guess what? That's not easy, but that's a big part of what I try to do in my intro to philosophy class, is to help my students examine their assumptions, okay? So I guess the point that I'm trying to make right now is, yes, I'm an Episcopal priest. Yes, I'm a Christian, but that doesn't mean that I want you to be a Christian. That's a different topic, okay? Now, having said that, we are going to talk a lot in this class about God and about religion and about scripture. Now, why in the world would we do that? I mean, this is a secular university. I've just told you that I'm not trying to get you to be a Christian. Why in the world would we talk about things like God and the Bible and theology? Who can help me out there? Why in the world would we talk about that stuff?
I want to say something.
Is it?
Yeah, Sergio, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would say that is because, well, a lot of people just believe in God, and well, there's a reason for it, you know. So like, it has to be analyzed, I think, because it's a big debate. So like, it's worth it to analyze why so many people like give their lives to a belief, you know, like a religion. That's a lot. That's a lot to do, and it's hard. Like, people sacrifice a lot for it.
Sergio, thank you so much for that. Remind me of your last name.
It's spelled Garrido. Garrido.
Oh, thank you very much. And Senia, what was your last name?
Perez.
Awesome.
Perez.
Thank y'all. Okay. Yeah, Sergio, thank you for that. Those are some good thoughts. But let me tell you the real reason why we talk about God in this class. It's because God, the notion of God, the concept of God is important historically. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you are someone who thinks that human rights are important. Let me see your hand. Do y'all think that? Okay, well, guess what? I would argue, and I'm actually confident that I could convince you that if you want to understand how it is that people in the 21st century started thinking about human rights and believing in human rights, you're going to have to think about God. Let me say it a different way. The concept of God, and this is something that y'all could write down. If you're taking notes, and I hope you are, this is something that you could write down. A necessary condition for the concept of human rights is the concept of God. Let me repeat that. A necessary condition for the concept of human rights is the concept of God. Let me translate that for you in normal people talk, okay? If it weren't for the concept of God, there would be no concept of human rights. Now, I'm not trying to get you to be a Christian. I'm stating a fact that whenever thinkers in the West began to talk about human rights, they were already relying on the concept of God, okay? Now, maybe God is not real, but guess what? If God is not real, then what else isn't real? Who can answer that? If God is not real, then what else is not real if what I just said is true?
I would say the human spirit.
Human rights. No God, no human rights. If what I just said is true. Now, maybe it's not true, right? You don't have to agree with me just because I'm the professor. In fact, I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to think it through for yourself. But what I'm trying to say to you right now is that the reason we talk about God in this class is because the idea of human rights has a history, and that history involves the concept of God. Now, am I making sense? I'm not asking if you agree with me. I'm just asking if I'm making sense. That's why we talk about God in this class. Let me give you another example, not just human rights, but modern science. Raise your hand if you think that modern science is kind of important for human life. Does anyone think that? Let me see your hands if you think that modern science. Okay, I would agree with you. But guess what else? Guess what? Everything that I just said about human rights is also true, I claim, for modern science. In other words, how did Western culture begin to think about modern science and to place a great deal of importance on empirical observation, measurement, running experiments, testing them, and coming up with conclusions? How did that happen? It presupposes the concept of God. Does that make sense? In other words, if it weren't for God, what I'm claiming is that historically, there would be no modern science. Let me give you an example. Would y'all agree with me that one of the things that modern science requires is that human beings be able to trust their sense perception? Am I making sense? Like, have you ever thought about, how do I know that this iPhone that I'm looking at right now, how do I know that it's real? This is what movies like The Matrix are about, right? I think that, like, y'all were many of you were born after The Matrix came out in 1999 or 2000. That's cool. But probably most of you have heard of The Matrix, right? This is what the Matrix is about. It's also what one of our readings, Rene Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy, it's also what that's about. Have you ever wondered, can I trust my sense perception? Is this coffee actually real? I think that I feel it on my tongue. I think that I see my iPhone, but how do I know that I can trust my senses? Have you ever thought about that? Modern science requires that we can trust our senses. But how do you know you can trust your senses? What I'm trying to say to you is that the concept of God is very important for making an argument on why we can trust our senses. Okay? Now, so why do we talk about God in this class? It's not because I want you to be a Christian. It's because the concept of God is important historically. Concepts have histories. Exhibit A, human rights. Exhibit B, modern science. And those histories require and involve the concept of what? What?
God.
Yep, that's right. Who said that?
I did, Sierra.
Sierra, thank you. Nice to meet you. That's right. The concept of God. So we are going to talk about God in this class, but this is not a theology class. This is not a Sunday school class. This is not a religion class. For the purposes of this class, I couldn't care less if you're a Christian or if you go to church or anything like that, okay? But we are going to talk about God. And by the way, it's very interesting. Believe me, it is very interesting. Okay, y'all. let's see. Where was I? Oh yeah, I'm in my little outline. Can y'all still see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm giving you a brief introduction to myself. I'm 48 years old. I've taught philosophy for 5 years at UT Tyler, about 9 or 10 semesters. I got my PhD actually just this last October. That was kind of a big deal, one of the highlights of my life. And I really enjoy teaching this class because I'm interested in getting to know students, but mainly, you know, it might sound kind of cheesy, but I'm interested in serving y'all. I'm interested in actually helping you think. I know that a lot of y'all take this class just because it's an elective or it's required for your degree plan. Probably some of y'all are nursing majors. And I always have like at least 50 or 60% of my students are nursing majors. That's great. And you know, you don't want to be professional philosophers. I get that. But I hope that you are asking questions. I hope that the questions that I raise in this class are interesting to you. And my job is to help you think about them. Okay. So y'all, that's a little bit about me. You know, I could talk more, but I don't want to about myself. Does anyone have any questions right now? Any questions or comments about me? To be honest with you, this is the largest Zoom meeting that I've ever managed. Last semester, I did all of my classes YouTube live stream, and that's fine. But I wanted to see your faces because I wanted to try to get to know you a little bit. That's why we're doing Zoom, and this is the largest Zoom meeting I've ever run, and I'm kind of lost at the moment, but that's okay. Any questions, comments about what I've said so far? I think I can only see like half of you, so if anyone has a question, can't you like send me like an emoji somewhere? Oh, chat. Hi. I'm trying to make the chat work, but I think I forgot how. Yeah, if anyone wants to say anything, I tell you what, why don't we do this? If anyone wants to say something to me, text me, okay? Text me. And speaking of text messages, let's go to the syllabus, okay? Because my cell phone number is on the syllabus, as is my email address. So I think that I'll go ahead and share the syllabus with y'all. But again, you should have it on Zoom. I mean, on Canvas, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and share the syllabus with you if I can. I kind of forgot. Okay, here we go. Oops. Okay. Give me 1 sec here. Okay. Oh, I see the chat now. Yay. Thank y'all for those comments. Y'all, I am going to share the syllabus with you, and we are going to talk about the syllabus for this class, okay? Can you guys see the syllabus?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. All right. You can see the syllabus, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. You can see my email and cell phone number at the top. Office hours. I do have an office at UT Tyler. It's on the 2nd floor near the men's bathroom. I can't ever remember the room number. I'm not in it very much, especially during a pandemic. But if anyone wants to make an appointment, then just text me or email me. We can do that on Zoom. We can do it on a phone call. Who knows? Maybe we can we can even meet in a socially distanced way. Okay. I will tell you that right now, I suppose that my default plan is to meet on campus in 2 weeks, although I honestly haven't decided and I'm not sure yet. Okay. Yeah. But we'll see. Can y'all still see the syllabus?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I've lost it. You can still see it, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Golly, I cannot find it. Okay. If it goes away, let me know, okay? Okay. Yeah, if you need to make an appointment, let me know. We can do that. Let's talk about the required readings, shall we? Who can tell me how many textbooks y'all are theoretically required to buy? Who can tell me that?
1.
No, good guess.
3.
3, yeah. The Jonathan Barnes book, Aristotle, A Very Short Introduction. Can y'all see the book here?
Yes.
Can y'all see that? This is one that you need to buy. Now, you can buy it, the Kindle version or whatever, I don't care, but I'm not planning on giving you this. I'm not planning on putting this on Canvas in the form of a PDF. The second one is, well, actually, it's the first one. I'm going out of order a little bit, is Plato's 5 Dialogues. Has anyone purchased this book already?
Yes, sir.
Good. And then the last one is this book, Rene Descartes. There's 2 works in here. We are only going to be reading the second one, which is Meditations on First Philosophy. Okay. So those are the only 3 books that that are technically required for you to purchase or to read or to obtain on your own in this class. Yeah. Those are the required texts. Now, there are a couple of PDFs that I'm putting up. And those include the first ones that we're going to read. If we have time today, we'll go through the reading schedule. Have y'all seen the reading schedule that I put on Canvas? That's a pretty important thing for y'all. Who can tell me what the very first thing that you're supposed to read for this class is?
This is the Heraclitus and the Parmenides.
That's right, Daniel.
I apologize for my pronunciation if I butchered those.
It's all good. Heraclitus and Parmenides.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Cool. That's right. So those are already uploaded to Canvas. That's what you're supposed to read right now. Now, those are 2 secondary sources. Those are not primary sources. Do y'all know the difference between a secondary source and a primary source? What is a primary source? A primary source is a classic work that has withstood the test of time. Does that make sense? So let me ask you a question. Y'all, were people reading the New Testament 1,000 years ago? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, they were. Let me ask you this. Do you think that people will still be reading the New Testament in 100 years? Yes or no?
Yes.
I
Yes.
agree. You know why? It's because the New Testament is a classic work. It has withstood the test of time. People were reading it 1,000 years ago. People are still reading it today. People are going to probably be reading it for as long as the human race exists. Okay. But hold that thought real quick. Can y'all see this book?
Yes.
Who can read me the title of this book?
The Gospel of Matthew.
That's right. Now, who said that? Who told me? Who said that just then?
Oh, it was me, Brooke Noble.
Brooke?
Yes, Noble.
Nice to meet you, Brooke. Is there an E on the end of your first name?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. I met a woman named Brooke last Sunday and she has no E on her name. Brooke, do you think that this is actually the Gospel of Matthew?
I think it's been revised and edited.
I love that. But guess what, Brooke? This is actually just a commentary on the Gospel of Matthew. Do you see what it says right here? It says like the daily Bible study, whatever. This is actually not the Gospel of Matthew. It's a commentary on the Gospel of Matthew. This is some person named William Barclay who's writing a commentary on Matthew. Does that make sense?
So would
Now-
that be a secondary source?
Exactly. This is a secondary source because it's a commentary, something that someone is writing about a primary source. Does that make sense? So primary sources are classic texts that have withstood the test of time. They're classic works, but a secondary source is a more contemporary modern person who's writing about what?
Writing
The primary source.
That's right, a primary source. So y'all see this book right here? Who can tell me the title of this book?
Aristotle.
Give me the complete title.
Oh, I can't read it that close.
Aristotle, a very
Very
short
short
introduction.
introduction.
There you go. And this is one of the 3 books that y'all are required to buy, right? Or to get a hold of. Now, is this book a primary source or a secondary source?
secondary.
That's right. It's a secondary source because this is not Aristotle. This is a book about Aristotle, right? Now, what about this? Is this a primary source or a secondary source?
Primary.
That's right, because it's actually written by Plato. People were reading Plato's dialogues 2,000 years ago, right? By the way, this book, which is one of the 3 that's required, actually contains 5 dialogues by Plato. So there's 5 little short works in this. Plato's works are called dialogues. We're going to talk about that a lot in this class. They're called dialogues because they're kind of like a story. They're kind of like a dramatic production. Aristotle's works are more like systematic treatises. Raise your hand if you took geometry in high school. When you think of geometry, like think of your geometry textbook, do you think of like a story or a work of fiction when you think of your geometry textbook? Yes or no? No. Your geometry textbook is like a system, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, conclusion, right? That's how Aristotle's work is. He's very systematic. He's like a scientist or a mathematician in that way. Plato is like more of an artist. He writes in terms of stories. Now, is one of these better than the other? I don't know. No, not in my opinion, but they're very different. And that difference is important. And we're going to be talking about that throughout the course of the semester. Okay. So the first, I'm going to go in order that we're going to read them. First, you've got Plato's 5 dialogues. That's a primary source. Then you have Aristotle, a very short introduction, which is a secondary source. And then you have Rene Descartes. There's 2 works in this. By the way, is this a primary or secondary source?
Secondary.
Raise your hand if you think it's a secondary source. Yay. Raise your hand if you think it's a primary source. It's a primary source. You know why? because people have been reading these texts since about 1650. How many years is that? Like 250 years? Yeah, 350 years, right? That's a long time. This is a primary source. Lots of people have written books about these texts. So there's 2 works in this book by Descartes. We're only reading the second one. We're only going to read Meditations on First Philosophy, okay? Now, y'all, that was this. Can y'all still see the syllabus?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. That right there was just a little quick look at the required reading. Remember that, I want you to remember 2 things. Number 1, pay attention to that reading schedule. I'm not going to try to pull it up right now because I'm afraid I'll get confused with Zoom and all that. Secondly, remember, some of what you're required to read is a PDF that I'm supplying you. And the first of those are the PDFs on Heraclitus and Parmenides. And I want y'all to be reading those now, okay? They're very short and very interesting. I need you to read them now, okay? All right, I'm going to try to find the syllabus. Oh yeah, I'm going to look at this one. Okay. Course description. I'm going to actually, could I get a volunteer to read what it says for Roman numeral 2 course description? Who can read that for me?
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
The course description from the official university catalog is a survey of the major areas of traditional and modern philosophy, philosophies of knowledge, ethics, logic, aesthetics, and metaphysics.
Good.
Is that it? Or keep going,
Yeah,
right?
you can stop right there. By the way, who was talking just then?
Adam
Adam, what's your last name?
Martinez.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, cool. Y'all, philosophies of knowledge, ethics, logic, aesthetics, and metaphysics. I could talk for a year about those things, but I'm not gonna because we don't have time. All right. I just want to say a couple of brief things. When it says, see how it says philosophy of knowledge? That is talking about epistemology. I need to find the chat. Why can I not use Zoom today? I don't know. Oh, chat. There we go. Nope. I can't find it. I can't find it. That sucks. Oh, well. Oh, there it is. Okay. Epistemology. Y'all see that? That is philosophies of knowledge. Okay. By the way, another word for knowledge right there. Can y'all see the chat?
Yes.
Awesome. Another word for knowledge right there is the word science, or, and I'm going to write it in Latin, scientia. Oh, autocorrect. I did it again. No, it didn't. Okay, y'all see that? There's very few Greek and Latin terms that I'm going to make y'all know. Very, very few. But one of them is scientia. Let me hear you say scientia.
Scientia.
Ciencia.
Very good.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about scientia all throughout this class. But for now, what I want you to remember is it's the same thing as knowledge, okay? It's not opinion. It's not faith. It's not emotions. It's knowledge. We're going to come back to that, okay? But let me just ask you this right now. If I held a gun to your head and said, who is all about science more, Plato or Aristotle, what would you say?
Aristotle.
Good.
Aristotle.
Now, someone who just answered that, tell me why. Why would you say that?
Because you kind of referred to him as like a geometry book. He's systematic. He goes step by step. So you
Exactly.
would feel like that's like more sciencey rather than artist.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now tell me your name again.
Sarah Mefford.
With an H?
No H.
No H. Cool. Medford.
Mefford.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. I love everything you said because you're right on. Now, let me just say, though, that Sarah's 100% right in what she said, but it was kind of a trick question because actually, I would not say that Aristotle is more all about science than Plato is. It was kind of a trick question just to see if you're paying attention, and Sarah clearly was, but we'll come back to this later, okay? For now, I've given you the word epistemology and I've given you the word scientia. I'm not going to say anything about ethics right now. I'm not going to say anything about logic right now. Do y'all see the word on the syllabus? Can y'all still see the syllabus?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You see the word aesthetics? What does that mean? Who can tell me what that means?
Looks.
I guess
Go ahead.
it's like someone in the chat said, it's style. It's the way something looks.
Yes,
Kind
and
of.
I cannot find the chat again. Oh, there it is. Nice. Okay. Okay, I like that style. So, but y'all, those are not wrong. But let me just say that the best word to associate with aesthetics is beauty. Okay. Aesthetics is the philosophy of beauty. What is beauty? Is beauty objective, or is it just kind of like your subjective preference? How can we talk about beauty? How can we have a rational discussion about things that are beautiful versus things that aren't beautiful? For example, is porn beautiful? Aristotle would say no. Well, why? What's the difference between pornography on the one hand and a Terrence Malick film on the other? Do y'all know who Terrence Malick is?
So film director,
Yeah. So who's talking right now?
Daniel.
Oh, Daniel, have you ever seen a Terrence Malick film?
Yes, it was actually Song to Song starring Ryan Gosling. I believe that was Terrence Malick.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, he's also directed films like Tree of Life.
Yes, and there was another one with Christian Bale, but the title escapes me.
Yeah, awesome. So you see, aesthetics is rational discussion about beauty. I would argue that pornography is not beautiful, but is that just my opinion? Is that just because I have some religious bias against it? Or is it something that can be discussed rationally? Well, guess what? Aesthetics is the field of philosophy that attempts to talk about beauty, okay? So that's a little bit about aesthetics. Metaphysics, I'm going to say a little bit about metaphysics at the risk of like not getting through the syllabus today. I want to say a little bit about metaphysics real quick. And I want to do it like this, okay? And y'all, let me just say right now that I encourage you to look at the syllabus, read the syllabus, and also even more than that, if possible, even more than that, I need you to pay attention to the reading schedule, okay? You're going to have quizzes during this semester, and so, you know, you got to kind of keep up with the reading. We'll talk more about that, but I encourage you, don't wait for me to talk about the reading schedule before you look at it, okay? But for now, and this might be one of the last things I do in today's class, for now, I want to say a little bit about this word metaphysics. Because y'all, this book right here, who can read the title of this book?
Aristotle's Metaphysics.
Good. And really the title is just Metaphysics. Who's the author of this book?
I would guess maybe not Aristotle.
It is Aristotle, actually.
Okay.
I can see why you might think that, but this is a work by Aristotle. And so is this a primary source or a secondary source?
Primary.
Primary.
That's exactly right. Now, who can tell me the title of this book?
Aristotle's Physics.
Yeah, and it's the very same. This is actually a work by Aristotle. So Aristotle's the author of this book. The title of this book is Physics. Is this a primary source or a secondary source?
Primary.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, so what's the title of this book?
Aristotle's Metaphysics.
Now, don't say Aristotle's Metaphysics, just say Metaphysics.
Metaphysics.
Yes, this is the Metaphysics. What's the title of this book?
Physics.
Right. So you've got metaphysics and you've got physics. Now, let's start with physics, or sometimes it's called the physics. I want to tell you a little bit about what Aristotle means by this word physics, okay? And let me see if I can find the chat again. I am getting better, I think. Where did it go? Okay. When Aristotle talks about physics, see, I know what y'all are thinking of. When you and I hear the word physics, we think about things like velocity and torque, and maybe if you're really smart, string theory or quantum mechanics, right? Or Newton's laws of nature. Physical laws of motion. That's what you and I think of when we think of physics, but that's not at all what Aristotle meant by physics. What Aristotle meant by physics is the study of nature, or the study of things that move. Can you all see that? Does everyone see the chat?
Yes. Yes.
Now, yeah, I'm going to write that word for you in Greek. And there it is, fuchsius. Fuchsius, that's the Greek word, and it gets translated into English as physics. But what Aristotle means by physics is things that move, okay? Now, who can give me an example of things that move?
Snow.
Snow. Ooh, that's a good one. You know, I'm surprised that you said that. Who said that, by the way?
Michael.
Michael, thank you very much. I'm kind of surprised that you said snow, because I was expecting y'all to talk about living organisms, like a dog or a giraffe. Do dogs and giraffes move? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. But guess what? Snow also moves. Michael, can you say something about how snow moves?
Snow moves very, I would say, slow, lethargic, kind of floaty.
Michael, what's your last name?
Bonner, Bahner.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, snow moves. I like what you said about lethargic and all that, but check this out. Also, snow just moves down, right? I mean, occasionally it might move up if like there's a wind gust, or if you go outside and point your hairdryer up, you might get the snow to move up. Yeah, that's true. But in general, snow moves down, right? That's actually really important for Aristotle, because Aristotle believed in the four elements: earth, wind, fire, and what? Earth, wind, fire, and what?
Air.
Water.
Air, yeah, water. Air is the same as wind. Earth, wind, fire, and water. Okay, those are the four elements. By the way, how many elements do we believe in? 4? 11? Who can tell me how many elements are on the periodic table of elements? I can't remember. I think there's like 131, right? At what? Helium, oxygen. I can't remember all of them, but there's like 131, right? Aristotle believed in 4: earth, wind, fire, and water. And they're very important for Aristotle because he thinks that they all move. By the way, snow, he would call water because it's ice, okay? And snow moves down. What direction does fire move? Up. What direction does earth move? That's kind of a weird one, right? It moves down. Aristotle thinks it moves down. You see, all 4 of the elements have a motion that's proper to them. He thinks that they move, and they do move. But guess what else moves? Frogs, snails, jackrabbits, and kangaroos, and human beings. Everything that I just named, frogs, snails, jackrabbits, and human beings, those are all animals. Wait, are human beings animals? Aristotle thinks that they are. Aristotle's definition of human beings is rational animal, okay? And you need to write that down, rational animal. That's Aristotle's definition of the human being. But if we're rational animals, then we're animals, right? And if we're animals, we are organisms that move, and that means that we are part of what?
Physics.
Physics. That's right. Because what Aristotle means by physics is nature or stuff that moves. Things like earth, wind, fire, water, things like animals. Who can give me another example of something that moves?
Light.
What?
Light moves.
Light. Ooh, that's a good one. We're going to wait for that. You can see the light coming through my office window. It's so beautiful. The sun came out today. Who said light?
Sergio.
Sergio, Mr. Garrido, thank you. I'm going to skip light. We'll come back to that later. What about plants? Do plants move?
Yes.
I was gonna say, wouldn't everything move if everything consists of atoms and atoms are all moving?
Well, do you think that Aristotle, so right now we're talking about Aristotle, right? So we're not talking about Einstein, and we're not talking about Rene Descartes. We're not talking about Kepler. We're talking about Aristotle. And actually, so what is your name?
Jagger, Jagger.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. If you want the last name.
You're good. Jagger, thank you so much for that. So one of the reasons why I talked about earth, wind, fire, water, and the 4 elements is to actually, in the back of my mind, what I was thinking is that Aristotle's actually not an atomist. Now, that's a thorny topic. We'll try to come back to it later in the course if we can. But Jagger, so let me ask you this. Do triangles move?
I mean, depends what your definition of a triangle is.
That's right. That's right. And if you look up the word triangle in a dictionary, what you're going to read about things like points, right? Do points move? No. Actually, Aristotle would say no. Now we'll come back to that because it's kind of tricky. What Aristotle would say is that every single triangle that you've ever seen is a material triangle. You've never seen a triangle that every single triangle you've ever seen is either made out of wood or metal or graphite or pixels. All of that is material, right? Matter. But Aristotle would also want to say that actually triangles exist independently of matter. They consist of points. And Aristotle would say that actually those don't move. So there are certain things for Aristotle that don't move, okay?
So I have a question. So he basically thought that it's just like a triangle is just like a distance, like a space that doesn't move because, well, that's where things move in space.
So yeah, tell me your name again.
Sergio.
Oh, that's Sergio again? Okay, cool. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it right now because we're going to run out of time, which is, fine. But all I want to say right now, Sergio, is do you know what a point is?
Yeah, it's like a place, like a specific place. no?
So a point, if you think about it long enough, a point is, let me ask you this, is a point made out of wood? Yes or no, Sergio?
No,
Right. Is it made out of gold?
no,
Is it made out of plastic?
no.
No. If you think about it long enough, what you begin to realize is that a point is immaterial. It's not made out of matter at all.
Right.
And so if that's true for points, guess what? It's true for triangles as well.
And all shapes.
All shapes, all geometric shapes. By the way, it's also true for things like concepts. I'm not saying that concepts are made out of points, but back to Jagger, Aristotle does believe that some things, I'm going to put it like this, some things have being. Some things exist that are immaterial, like concepts. Remember a minute ago, we said that the definition of the human being is a what? Who can remind me?
Rational animal.
Right, a rational animal. That's a concept. It's a definition. Aristotle would say it does exist, but is it made out of plastic? What about wood or gold? No. So you see, Jagger, not everything that exists for Aristotle, I'm not talking about my opinion. I don't want you to know what I think. I want you to know what Aristotle thinks, and Plato and Descartes and Nietzsche, okay? And what Aristotle thinks is that some things have being, some things exist that are not made out of matter. But, and this, Jagger, I'm so glad you mentioned it because the physics is only about things that move. And guess what? That means that it's only about material things. So let me ask you all, does physics study triangles? Yes or no for Aristotle?
No.
That's right. It doesn't. Because it studies things that move and things that consists of matter, like earth, wind, fire, water, the four elements, like animals. What else? Who can name something that exists in nature that's made out of matter that moves? Not the elements, not animals. Think of something else. I'm looking out my window, my beautiful office window, and I see some beautiful what?
Trees.
Yes, trees. Let me ask you a question. Do trees move?
Yes.
Who can tell me how? I mean, I've never seen a tree walking.
By when?
What?
Isn't it up?
No, also down.
Did someone say up?
Me.
That's good. So I didn't ask you what direction a tree moves. Okay. You know what, Senia, you're awesome. Let's start over, Senia. Do trees move?
Yes.
How?
Side to side.
Okay, cool. What about this? Because you said up a minute ago, right?
Yeah.
I agree. You know what we call it? You know what we call it when a tree moves up?
Growth.
Yes, growth. That is how plants move. But Senia, what is the opposite of growth?
Death.
Yes, death or maybe decay. The weird word that Aristotle would use is the word corruption. So Aristotle looks at things like plants and animals and he talks about generation. That means being born like a seed that pops up as a little stalk in the ground. Generation and corruption. That's movement and that's growth. And y'all, I'm gonna finish this lecture in the next 5 minutes and we're gonna pick up next time and we're gonna go over the syllabus. But to be honest with you, the syllabus is not nearly as important as what we're talking about now, okay? But we're gonna come back to the syllabus, don't worry. Physics is about nature, what you and I call nature, stuff that moves. The four elements move, Animals move, plants move. That's nature, okay? What is metaphysics? Well,
Ideas and concepts.
okay,
No, it's
good.
a branch of philosophy. It talks about like firsts, but that's about it. And then
Awesome. Okay. Let me hit the pause button. And what I want y'all to think with me about the word metaphysics. I want y'all to think about the etymology of the word metaphysics, okay? What is the root word of the word metaphysics?
Meta.
meta.
It's not meta. It's
No.
physics. It's physics, right? What is meta? Is it a suffix?
Prefix.
That's right. Who said that?
Michael.
Good. Y'all, a lot of what philosophy is just paying attention to words. You would be amazed at how much you can learn just by analyzing words. And this word metaphysics is an amazing word because the root word is metaphysics, but the prefix is meta. So whatever metaphysics is, it has something to do with what?
Physics.
Physics. The real question is, what in the heck does the prefix meta mean? What does that mean?
It means bigger, I think.
And here's what it means. It means
The beginning.
beyond. I'm going to put this in the chat if I can find it. It means beyond, and it means after. Y'all see that? Beyond or after. Somehow, metaphysics is beyond or after physics. And y'all, that's where we're going to pick up next time. Okay? I need you to look at the syllabus. I need you to do the reading. And I'll see you next time. Okay? I want to do one more thing before I sign off. And that is, I'm going to teach you a little ritual. Okay? A little ritual. Because I think that rituals are super important for learning in a community. And so the little ritual is, okay, first off, raise your hand if you like Star Wars, Mandalorian, blah, blah, blah. I do. Okay. So our ritual is going to be this. I'm going to say, may the force be with you. And you're going to say, and also with you. Okay. So let's try it. I got you, Cinia. May the force be with you.
And
also
with you.
Hey, that's our little ritual. That's how we're going to open the class and close the class. So we're going to do our little ritual right now, and then I'm going to sign off, okay? May the force be with you.
And
also with you.
See you next time. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.